Hi everyone, Justin Paperny with White Collar Advice and Prison Professor. So good to be with you. I've been off the grid, making videos, so to speak, for the last few weeks, maybe a month. I've been busy working, sick as a dog. In fact, I'm so grateful to my client Steven, who when we met, is bringing me medications. I don't exactly know what they do, but I think that they're working, and he's so awesome because every 2 hours he texts me. Every few hours, are you feeling better? So I'm very grateful to him to give me this oregano, which is the most atrocious thing I've ever tasted. But I think it's working. And these pills that I take, and I have no idea what they are. So slowly feeling better and filming a rare Sunday video, in part because I'm going to be traveling to see clients the next 2 days. And my marketing team is continuing to yell at me by telling me, dude, we need more videos. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to film a video. But as you know, I'm all about quality, not quantity. I'm going to share a video and I think I have something relevant to share. And that's what I'm going to do today to the best of my ability. I get a lot of questions every month. We've had hundreds of emails and calls ever since Shon Hopwood, my partner, was on 60 Minutes again. They re-aired his episode. So that's been very, very busy and can't answer every question, unfortunately. But just over the last day, I got some questions I'm going to quickly answer. Number one, well, someone said, am I still making videos? Yes, clearly by filming this video, I'm making videos. How many takes do I do on my videos? One, bud. This is it. Good, bad, awful, good comments, bad comments. One take at this. This isn't a Hollywood movie. It's kind of like a blog. I'm sharing thoughts and time. I want to be authentic. I want to teach. And then like all of us, I'm going to move on with our day. And I'm attempting to do this with kids in the background yelling and screaming. Bear with me. Number three, books that I'm reading. Actually just got back from Barnes and Noble. In fact, I posted something on my Instagram about 30 minutes ago that said, one gift for Alyssa, one for me. So I just bought Principles by Ray Dalio. I'm going to read that. To some more serious questions. Someone asked me, what's the biggest surprise I have found being a quasi-public figure, at least in the prison space? What's the biggest the surprise I found in a bad way? And it was a really interesting question, and I think I'm grateful that he thinks I've been successful. I've worked hard. Others, I'm sure, would question that claim, do the best I can. I guess what surprised me most is some of the vengeance and enmity that exists. Some of the anti-Semitism that I've received over the years has been somewhat difficult for me. Even over the last week, I've seen comments on my YouTube video, emails that I received that I'm a Zionist Jew, and of course I made money in prison because I'm a Jew, and it's something I've never quite gotten used to. I don't have a problem if someone questions my ability or questions how well I write or speak. Everyone has an opinion. Well, that's fine. But the anti-Semitism for me has been, till this day, very, very tough to deal with. And it's the consequences that come of not wanting to live in the shadows, right? I can live in the shadows and, not ever talk about my experience and try to help people, or I can put myself out there and endure it. So the question of what has surprised me most, some of the hatred, as I've mentioned, I'm suing a competitor who wrote an anonymous report about me. We're in the process of writing the probation officer, the judge. He's still on probation, going to be bringing this issue to light along with evidence. But why would someone do that? Hatred, vengeance, wanting to hurt people to advance their agenda. So the hatred, the vengeance, but a lot of the anti-Semitism I've received has been a little bit troubling for me. Other questions. Oh, on my Instagram, I put up a photo of when I lectured at the FBI Academy. And I wrote 7 years ago, I lectured at the Academy. And I got a message from someone that said, isn't speaking at the Academy kind of like, sleeping with the enemy, so to speak? And look, my response to this person and to you is my goal in going to the FBI Academy and instructing law enforcement and FBI agents was to help them better investigate white-collar crime. Had I not lied to the FBI when they interviewed me, I learned at the FBI, I never would have been indicted. I never would have gone to jail. So my goal is to help them do their job better, to understand the tendencies, the idiosyncrasies, the mannerisms of white-collar crime. Why do some defendants, not all, live in denial? And how can they help shake a defendant out of that rather than it's black and white, you made a bad decision, we're going to punish you and put you on the page one of Google and the Department of Justice press releases, and you're going to go to prison. It scares the hell out of a lot of us. It certainly did me, and that's part of the reason that I lied. I didn't want to endure that fate. I wanted them to view me differently. So I think if they were to investigate crime better, have a little bit more empathy, that prison terms would be shorter. Fewer people may go to prison. Had I responded differently when the FBI showed up, I would not have gone to prison. So I went there to educate and teach from my experience and others. So I don't view it as sleeping with the enemy, so to speak, but rather helping people who are in a huge position of influence and power, helping them better do their job. And that benefits everyone that I care about in this space, and that's primarily white-collar defendants. So let's transition to this blog. Good God, I've already rambled for 4 minutes. I better get there, okay? I want to film this blog because a defendant reached out to me, and he's like, Justin, I'm not sure what to do. I just spoke with a competitor, consultant, and this is who I spoke with. I said, I don't need to know the name. I don't care. What's the problem? And he's like, this person told me prison's going to be the hardest day of my life, the hardest day of my life. And if I don't hire him, it's going to be even harder and bad things are going to happen. So in this space, people frequently sell the emotional toll, pull, tug, pull, whatever it is. If you don't do this or let me guide you, this will happen. If you don't say this in the RDAP interview, you will not get in. So it's very emotional. It is compelling. It can be easy to want to move forward if someone would say that to you. So I said, well, so do you now believe that surrendering to prison will be the absolute hardest day of your life? And he's like, of course. Someone just said that to me. And they said, if I don't retain them, this is going to happen. So since it's going to be the hardest day of my life, I thought maybe you could help prepare me on what that day would be like. So following that conversation, I actually reached out to a handful of clients because I want these videos to have clearly defined takeaways. It's good if you watch it. I hope you learn, but it's the implementation. It's like with my book, which is free. If you don't read it, then what's the point? It's implementing what you learn. So I reached out to some clients and I said, just through text, I said, hey bud, what was the hardest day of your life? Was it going to prison? And my clients were like, dude, hell no. Well, what was it? It was all things that required aggressive action. I'm going to tell you what was measurably harder for me than going to prison. I can tell you that much, or that first day. Clients responded with, dude, the hardest day of my life was telling my kids that I was going to jail. The hardest day of my life was keeping my mouth shut to a case manager in prison that was mean and rude and disrespectful and treated me like I was a career criminal and scum. It took a great deal of resolve to endure that every single day. Okay, reached out to other clients. What was the hardest day of your life? Justin coming home broke, trying to start a new career, putting my employment feelers out there, nobody hiring me. It was a hard day getting kicked out of, where I rented. The landlord no longer wanted to rent to me because he saw my name online, or the bank firing me. The list can go on and on and on and on and on. Everybody has endured measurably harder days than that first day in federal prison. And I can relate to that. So the subject of first day in prison has been covered. I'm doing a lot with the hands today. Maybe I better scale back for a second. Sorry, I'm just a little excited. It's my first video in about a month. I feel like I'm just back on the set here. The first day in federal prison has been covered exhaustingly on YouTube. I'm guilty of it too. I film YouTube's first day in federal prison, first day in prison for wives. I've done it, so I'm not going to cover it here. But what I will do is try to articulate that first day in federal prison is not going to be the hardest day in your life. Like I said, telling your kids, coming home to a sullied reputation, trying to re-engage in the employment market. Pleading guilty for me was measurably harder than my first day in federal prison because I had to open up in front of a judge about my guilt. I fear my daughter's going to walk in here at any moment. I hear it. So why though? That first day in federal prison can be very passive. Anything that is going to be hard is going to require massive amounts of action. That first day in prison, you can literally walk in, answer a few questions, wait to get processed in. They throw your ass over to the camp. It's like self-serve, self-paced. You're just there. There's no one guiding you. There's no one teaching you. Now, I'm not a fool. Of course you have to prepare for prison. Of course you have to understand your tendencies. I write a lot about that in my blogs, understanding your tendencies, having an ability to say no, not being a people pleaser, having a morning routine, looking for education, avoiding staff, avoiding the gossip, avoiding watching the Kardashians all day on TV. There are things you have to do, of course. But to say it is the hardest day, or this competitor said, it is the hardest day and I'll fix it unless you hire me, I think is misleading. And even something I posted up here on Instagram, comforting lies versus unpleasant truths. Something that's very important. It is a comforting lie if someone says to you, yes, it is the hardest day ever, but if you hire me, I'll fix it and I'll do this. It makes that person feel better. It can compel them to move forward. The unpleasant truth is this. Yeah, it's a hard day, but let me tell you, it's measurably harder. Coming home with a sullied reputation, having lost licenses, potentially with no resources, and not being ready. Not taking massive amounts of action every single day on the inside. So I'm reading Principles, or I'm just going to start to read it. I presume in here he's a billionaire because he talks about massive courses of action, and I'm sure a good portion of it was uncomfortable. Another book I referenced in here that I put up here, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. The only downside of the book is there's 75 million F-bombs. The great part about this book is it encourages action. And it talks about how many people actually want something versus talking about it, right? I have golf clubs here in my office. I want to be a great golfer, but I don't practice enough. It's all talk. And that's what I found at times with prison preparation or overcoming a conviction. Everybody wants it, but how much work are they really willing to put in? To what extent do they really want it? And that comes back to what was measurably harder for me than my first day in prison. And of course, it revolved around coming home. My first or second day after I was released from prison in August 2009, I spent the whole day in downtown Los Angeles in the San Fernando Valley, cold walking with my book, Lessons from Prison. My good friend Carol Santos, Michael Santos, his wife, helped me prepare a list of defense attorneys' names in Los Angeles. And I spent the whole day cold walking. And I remember speaking with Michael Santos, my mentor before my release. MG is my nickname for him. Michael Gerard. I said, MG, I'm going to be home soon. This is going to be crazy. Prison's easy. I mean, it's easy to talk about what I want to do. I'm going to actually have to do it. It's easy to write a blog about who I want to help. I actually have to do it. It's easy to write a blog about speaking in front of thousands of people, having never done it. Easy to talk about it. It's much different to do it. And he said, JP, you can either have hundreds of this wonderful book that we worked on in your garage and useless, or you can work and you can hustle and you can endure some nervousness and a little embarrassment, because who cares? It's not like you're going back to jail. You've already endured the worst, bud. Come on, you got nothing left to lose. And he actually shared this great song with me that references having nothing left to lose. I later wrote a blog about it. So I said, you're right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take immediate and aggressive action, despite how tough it might be. So the hardest day for me, I didn't have children. For some clients, it's telling their children. For some clients, it might be getting divorced. For others, it might be re-engaging into the job market, going on that first interview. Yes, I just got out of jail. For me, it was walking into lawyers' offices in downtown Los Angeles, getting past security. Many wouldn't let me past. But walking in with a suit that was 30 pounds, that was way too big. It was the suit I was sentenced in. I'd lost weight in prison. Asking the secretary if I could speak with a lawyer. Why are you here? Do you have an appointment? No solicitation. Poor people looking at me like, God, I feel terrible for this guy. Who is this guy? What the hell is he doing here? He looks like a traveling salesman. And I would say, look, I do not have an appointment. I'm in the area. I'd be very grateful if I could spend 3 minutes speaking with Mr. Worksman and just simply hand him a copy of my book. And while many threw me out and said, you don't have an appointment, you're not welcome here, I'm sorry, no solicitation. And I walked out, not cowering with my head down, but with a sense of, hey, this is the way it goes. I'm just out of jail. I'm not going to wait for the phone to ring. Where's my iPhone? I'm not going to sit at home all day and just wait for this damn iPhone to ring. I'm not going to do it. I wrote a blog. I had a book that helped me get some business, but I'm just not going to sit here and wait. Yes, hi, Justin. Yeah, I'd love to work with you. Of course. Sure. I'll send over the scope of work. Phone was calling me. It was 2009, the worst economy since the Great Depression. Nobody knew me. I had to hustle. I had to work. I had to share my work and deliver value. So while many threw me out, there were some. I just mentioned Mark Worksman, an excellent lawyer in downtown Los Angeles, who welcomed me. And he said, Justin, tell me a little bit about why are you here? And I said, Mark, I made some bad decisions as a stockbroker. I was embarrassed at how I humiliated my family and created victims. And in prison, I realized how many educated white-collar defendants were like me, totally unprepared for the journey. So to help, I wrote a daily blog in my book, Lessons from Prison. And this book doesn't give legal advice. I'm not a lawyer. I have a psychology degree from USC. And he too had gone to USC. I knew that. I'd done some research on every lawyer I was about to speak with, or I'd hoped would speak with me. I'm not a lawyer, but I do know the consequences of living in denial. And I do know the consequences of acting foolishly in prison. And I do know the consequences of having a bad pre-sentence report. I know the consequences of not articulating your history of drinking or substance abuse to get out of prison early. Well, what does that look like? What does that mean? Transition to a conversation. So I didn't overdo it in that first meeting. I said, Mark, I'd love to leave you with a few copies of my book. Keep them in your office. And when you have a prospect or client in the office that wants to learn more about life in a federal prison camp, hand them my book. He said, Justin, I would absolutely love to. I didn't overdo it. I looked at it like a sales process. right? When I met my wife, I didn't say, "Hi, I'm Justin. Do you want to get married?" She said, "This guy is insane. He already writes about prison. Now he's asking me to marry him after 3 seconds. Run." No, we had a cup of coffee, another cup of coffee, another cup of coffee, a glass of wine. Eventually we got married. Well, I looked at that first day as I just need to cultivate more relationships. I don't need a referral from him today. I don't need a referral from him next month. I was already living on debt as it was. It doesn't really matter if I'm $50,000 or $90,000 in debt at 24% interest. Who cares? As long as my probation officer allowed me building this career as a speaker and author and consultant, it was all good. And over time, he'd say, "Justin, I just handed out your books." Oh my God, it worked. And then more lawyers were receptive to me and I continued to cold walk. So as I wrap up this video, cold walking for me was the hardest thing I've ever done. That first or second day out of prison, walking into law offices, getting thrown out. But knowing that some of them, like Mark Worksman and Alan Eisner and others, were welcoming of me and saw the courage and chutzpah, as us Jews like to say, and actually doing it rather than sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring. Because I just knew it wasn't going to. Well, I did somewhat, but not to the degree. I had to go out and hustle. So I say to all of you watching, there has got to be a takeaway from this video. There's got to be something that you have to do. I promise you, regardless of what others tell you, or how they try to scare you about life in prison, or what will happen if you do not retain them. I promise you there's as much violence in a corporate office park or 7-Eleven as there is in a minimum security camp. The highest value is boredom. There's nothing to be scared about. It's boredom. I'm telling you. So what is a massive course of action that you could take today? Because every day in your life will be harder and more fulfilling, but it will be hard if you take action and you just sit back instead of just sitting back passively or going through the motions, which that first day in federal prison can be like. So as I wrap up, and I struggle to wrap up because I talk too damn much, I should actually Google how to wrap up talks. I'm going to do that after that. As I wrap up, I beg you, what is one thing you could do today to take action? Is it holding a lawyer accountable? Maybe your lawyer doesn't want that narrative in the PSR or sentencing hearing. Maybe it's someone you've wanted to reach out to as a mentor or to write a letter on your behalf. Maybe it's an idea you have for a business, but you know it could require a cold call or a cold walk. What is the hardest thing that you can do today that will get you closer to your goals, that will put you further ahead? And here's the thing. Even though I was getting thrown out of offices and I was broke, occasionally I get these messages, you only served 18 months, you went to USC, you were privileged. My mom was a paralegal. My father owned a hardware store. Okay, neither of my parents graduated college. Some of the crazy messages I get from people about how easy it was for me is astonishing. Well, that's a separate conversation. Regardless of where you are today, if you don't take massive amounts of action, nothing will happen. And when you do, self-esteem follows. Even though I was thrown out of law offices, people looking at me foolishly like, who is this guy? I had self-esteem. Why? Because I was living authentically. As I wrote in the ends of Lessons from Prison, the epilogue, if I said I was going to do something, I did it. I said I was going to do it in prison. I did it. And the first person I wrote was Michael Santos. I said, dude, I didn't do great today. I got thrown out of a lot of offices. And his response was, JP, I'm proud of you. You're taking action. You're doing it. Stick with it. And Michael always closed every message with, work, work, work. Stick with it. I'll be home soon. So that's how I'm going to wrap up. Do something today. If it's reading my book, great, read it, but implement something. It does no good if I read this book if I don't learn from it and implement something. Implement something today. Do something active that will always be harder than your first day in federal prison. I absolutely assure you. I hope to do more videos and not let 1 month or months go by without doing them. I hope you found value in this. Subscribe if you like. You should certainly grab my book for free. Oh my God, I'm sorry. One last thing. Michael Santos, my mentor, wrote a phenomenal new course. It's awesome. It's free. We give away stuff that people try to sell for. Then again, they can't even create this content to try to sell it or give it away anyway, other than try to take it from us as others have done. Have I gotten into the person that took the videos that Michael did with the judge and tried to pawn them off as his own? That's a whole separate conversation. In fact, I could have videos filled up for weeks. If you want this book, this new course, 7 Habits of Successful Prisoners, text quickly to 44222. It will be delivered to you through email in minutes. Talks about being proactive, beginning with the end in mind. It's kind of taken from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Successful People. It is a phenomenal book, and Michael talks about how these 7 habits helped guide him through 26 consecutive years in prison. I'm very animated today. I'm usually not this excited. This is a phenomenal course. Just reading this alone will give you so many ideas to take immediate and aggressive action. So if I did it, Michael Santos did it, if Shon Hopwood did it, then of course you can do it. We want to be a resource to help you. So go grab this book by texting quickly to 44222. You'll have it in minutes. And thank you so much for letting us guide you on this journey. Thank you so much. I will be back soon. I promise. Bye-bye.